We talk a lot about forgiveness. In church pews, therapy rooms, self-help books, you'll hear the same message. Forgive and move on. Forgive for your own peace. Forgive or you'll stay stuck. And while that might be true for small offenses or clumsy mistakes, what about the betrayals that leave you questioning your own worth? What about the kind of betrayal that doesn't just hurt? It alters who you are. Let me say this with all the compassion and clarity I have. There are some betrayals in relationships you should never forgive, not because you're bitter, not because you want revenge, but because your dignity, mental health, and sense of self depend on it. This isn't about holding a grudge. This is about drawing a boundary so hard and so deep that no one dares to cross it again. So let's walk through the 9 truths behind the 3 betrayals you should never forgive, not for closure, not for peace, not for anything. When they publicly humiliate you to gain power or laughs, let's be really honest about something most people won't say out loud. Being humiliated by someone you love in front of others is one of the most brutal betrayals you'll ever experience. And it's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's disguised as sarcasm. Sometimes it sounds like a joke. But your body knows the truth before your brain can process it, because suddenly you're not safe anymore. It's the moment you hear your deepest insecurity tossed casually into a story, the moment someone you trust mimics your pain for entertainment, the moment your heart drops and you scan the room, wondering, did anyone else catch that, or am I overreacting? That doubt you feel, that confusion, that's betrayal trying to wear a funny mask. Public humiliation is not just a misstep, it's an intentional act of power. And here's the hardest truth of all. People don't humiliate others by accident. They do it because it gives them control, because for that moment they feel taller by making you feel smaller. And when the crowd laughs or stays silent, that betrayal becomes layered. You were mocked, and then you were left alone in it. We need to stop normalizing this behavior by calling it teasing. Teasing is playful. Teasing is mutual. Teasing is safe. Public humiliation weaponizes intimacy. It takes what you shared in confidence and exposes it for applause or dominance. And when you confront the person who did it, they often gaslight you. You're too sensitive. Don't be dramatic. It was just a joke. No, it wasn't. If someone truly loves you, they protect your dignity, even when they're frustrated, even when they're in a group, even when they're trying to be funny. They don't turn your pain into their punchline. This betrayal isn't just about the moment it happens. It's about the lasting damage it does. It teaches you to shrink, to keep things to yourself, to second guess your feelings. You stop being open. You stop feeling safe. And sometimes you stop being you. That's why this kind of betrayal should never be forgiven. Because when someone shows you that they're willing to trade your emotional safety for a laugh, a win, or a moment of dominance, they are not showing immaturity. They're showing you who they are when no one is watching out for you. And once someone crosses that line, forgiveness doesn't rebuild trust. It gives them permission to cross it again. 2. When they intentionally sabotage your growth, let's talk about something subtle but absolutely devastating. When someone close to you sabotages your growth, and I don't mean someone who just forgets to cheer you on. I'm talking about the ones who actively, deliberately try to keep you small. They see you shining, and instead of celebrating it, they flinch. They hear your goals, and instead of saying go for it, they say be realistic. They notice your progress, and instead of clapping, they compete. Or criticize, or quietly hope you fail. That is not love. That is fear in disguise. Because here's the truth most people are too afraid to face. Some people only loved you when you were unsure of yourself. As long as you were doubting your worth, as long as you played small, as long as your dreams didn't stretch past their comfort zone, They felt safe, in control, important, but the moment you started healing, leveling up, speaking louder, taking up more space, they didn't feel proud of you. They felt threatened by you, and so they start chipping away, not in big, obvious ways, but through tiny, cutting comments. Don't get ahead of yourself. Are you sure you're qualified? You've changed. And maybe the cruelest of all, don't forget where you came from. That's not humility. That's sabotage. That's someone trying to tie you to an old version of yourself so they don't have to meet the new one. You might tell yourself they mean well, that they're just scared, that they're trying to protect you, but here's what they're really protecting: their comfort, their control, their ego. A partner or friend who truly loves you will not compete with your growth. They'll cheer for you, stretch with you, and if they feel insecure about your success, they'll own it. They won't punish you for it. You do not owe forgiveness to someone who tried to dim your light because it shined too brightly next to theirs. Because growth isn't just about career or confidence or money. Growth is about becoming the fullest version of yourself. And if someone tries to sabotage that, they are not afraid of you leaving them behind. They are afraid of not being able to control you anymore. When they pretend to love you while secretly deceiving you, there's a kind of betrayal that doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your sense of reality. It's when someone looks you in the eye, holds your hand, says, "I love you," and is lying the entire time. They say all the right things. They show up when it's convenient. They act like they care. But underneath the surface, there's a whole other story happening behind your back. Secrets, lies, double lives, affairs, hidden messages. A web of deception so carefully woven that by the time you discover it, you don't just feel hurt. You feel stupid. You feel played. You feel erased. This isn't just about cheating, though that's often part of it. It's about emotional fraud. It's about someone creating a version of reality they know you'll buy into, while they live out something else entirely. They let you plan a future with them, open your soul to them, build a life around them, all while knowing deep down that they're not who they're pretending to be. Let me be very clear. That is not a mistake. That is not a moment of weakness. That is a pattern. That is a performance. And it's the kind of betrayal that leaves long-term damage, not just to your ability to trust others, but to your ability to trust yourself. Because you start asking dangerous questions. How did I not see this? Was any of it real? Am I that easy to fool? Did I deserve this? No. You didn't deserve it. And yes, it was real on your end. You loved honestly. You trusted fully. You gave someone the benefit of the doubt when they never earned it. That's not weakness. That's courage. But what they did, that's not love. That's exploitation. And you should never, ever forgive someone who built your love story on a lie. Because once someone chooses to deceive you consistently, while keeping you emotionally attached, they are not trying to fix a mistake. They are trying to own your reality while keeping their secrets safe. That's not just betrayal. That's psychological abuse. And if they could lie to you while looking you in the eyes, holding your body close, sharing meals, memories, and milestones with you, they didn't break your heart. They broke the contract of truth that every healthy relationship depends on. And that's something you don't recover from by saying, "It's okay, I forgive you," because it's not okay. And some doors are meant to stay closed, not because you hate the person on the other side, but because you finally love the person standing in front of it, yourself. When they weaponize your vulnerabilities, you know that moment when you open up to someone. Really open up. You share the hard stuff, the messy stuff, the stories you don't even like to tell yourself, the trauma, the shame, the regret, the parts of you you've hidden from the world, and they listen, they nod. Maybe they even hold you while you cry, and for a moment you think, this is safe, I'm safe. But then one day you're in a fight, or they're trying to win an argument, or they're feeling insecure, and suddenly your vulnerability is used against you like a weapon. They bring up that secret you told them, that fear you confessed in the dark, that thing from your past you still carry like a wound, and they twist it, use it to shame you, throw it in your face, not to help you heal, but to hurt you deeper. That is not love, that is betrayal on a soul, deep level, when someone takes what you gave them in trust and uses it to punish, manipulate, or silence you. It's not just a red flag. It's a flashing billboard that says, this person is not safe, because what they've done isn't just cruel. It teaches you that your truth isn't welcome, that your pain is ammunition, that your openness is a liability, and you start to shrink. You stop sharing. You start building walls where there used to be doors. And slowly, the relationship becomes less about connection and more about defense. You should never forgive someone who makes your pain feel dangerous, because when vulnerability is punished, we don't just lose trust in them, we lose trust in ourselves. And the cost of that is massive. Real love is not about collecting ammunition. It's about holding space. It's about protecting what's tender, not using it as leverage. It's about saying, your wounds are safe with me, always. So when someone shows you that your vulnerability makes you weaker in their eyes, that your pain is a tool for their power, that betrayal doesn't get a second chance, because forgiveness without accountability doesn't make you wise. It makes you a target. When they disrespect your boundaries again and again, let's clear something up. A boundary is not a punishment. It's a declaration of self-respect. It's you saying, this is what I need to feel emotionally safe. This is where I end and you begin. And in healthy relationships, boundaries aren't just respected, they're honored. But what happens when someone hears your boundary and then crosses it anyway, not once, not twice, but over and over again, each time acting confused, offended, or even angry that you dare to protect yourself? That's not love, that's control. Here's the thing, when someone continuously disrespects your boundaries, they're not misunderstanding you. They understand perfectly, they just don't care, because to them your no is negotiable. Your discomfort is irrelevant, your needs are inconvenient, and instead of adjusting their behavior, they start attacking your character. You're being too sensitive. You're so selfish now. You've changed. And yes, you have changed, because you've finally started listening to that small, tired voice inside that's been begging you to stop tolerating mistreatment. Let me say this clearly. Anyone who repeatedly violates your boundaries is choosing their comfort over your peace. It's not a misunderstanding. It's not forgetfulness. It's a decision, and you should never forgive someone who makes you feel guilty for needing protection. Because when you forgive repeated violations without accountability, you're teaching them how to keep crossing the line. You start questioning yourself. Am I asking for too much? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I should just be more flexible. No, you are not asking for too much. You're asking to be treated like a human being, not a convenience. Forgiving someone who disrespects your boundaries again and again is like handing the keys of your house to someone who keeps breaking your windows. Eventually, it's not just about what they are doing. It's about what you're allowing, and self-respect means you stop explaining the line and start enforcing it. When they turn people against you behind your back, this is one of the quietest betrayals and one of the most damaging. It doesn't leave bruises. It doesn't come with yelling. It creeps in silently, through whispers, rumors, half-truths, and calculated omissions. It's when someone you love, someone you trusted, slowly poisons other people's view of you. not always by lying outright, but by twisting the truth. I'm just worried about them. You know how emotional they can be. I'm not trying to cause drama, but... And suddenly, people start treating you differently. They're distant, they're cold, they know things you never told them, and you're left wondering, what version of me did they hear? Who am I to them now? This is betrayal by manipulation, and it's calculated. It's strategic. It's designed to isolate you, so you'll come crawling back, questioning yourself, needing their version of the story to feel whole again. This kind of betrayal is especially painful in families, in friendships, and in romantic relationships where there's shared social circles. Because it doesn't just damage you, it damages your reputation, your support system, your sense of reality. And often, when you confront them, they smile and say, "I never said anything bad about you," but they did. They just said it in a way that allowed them to deny it. That's not miscommunication. That's emotional sabotage. You should never forgive someone who tries to make others doubt your character just because they lost control of your life. Because when someone starts turning people against you, it's no longer about the relationship between you and them. It becomes about power, image, ego. They want to be the victim. They want to be the one who tried their best, while secretly destroying the foundation of your relationships behind closed doors. This betrayal is meant to make you small, silent, and unsure. But what it really reveals is their fear, because people only assassinate your character when the truth threatens their story. And once someone chooses to destroy your reputation in the shadows instead of facing conflict in the light, that relationship becomes a battlefield you didn't sign up for. Protect your peace. Protect your name. Walk away, and never forgive the betrayal they tried to bury under silence. When they laugh at your pain instead of sitting in it, there's a specific kind of betrayal that doesn't come with violence or volume. It comes with a smirk. It happens when you're vulnerable, raw, and cracked open. And the person you turn to for comfort, they roll their eyes, they chuckle, they tell you to get over it. Or worse, they act like your pain is an inconvenience or a joke. That's not strength, that's cruelty pretending to be emotional maturity. Because when someone you love laughs at your hurt, it's not just embarrassing, it's invalidating. It makes you feel foolish for feeling anything at all. And slowly you start to shut down. You learn to bite your tongue, to fake being fine, to cry behind closed doors because the one person who should have sat beside your pain turned away from it. Real connection isn't built in the easy moments. It's built in the hard ones. When you're sobbing, spiraling, or simply saying this hurts, the people who love you should lean in, not recoil, mock, or minimize. When they laugh instead of listen, when they smirk instead of sit with you in silence, that's not a personality trait. That's a failure of empathy, and here's the dangerous part. People who do this often claim to be just being honest or trying to lighten the mood. No, they're making your pain about their comfort. They're dodging your vulnerability by turning it into a punchline. You should never forgive someone who repeatedly meets your hurt with humor instead of humanity, because that kind of response teaches you that your emotions are too much, that your sadness is shameful, and that your most authentic moments are annoying or dramatic. And here's the truth. The right person doesn't laugh when you cry. The right person honors the courage it took to let the tears fall in the first place. So if someone showed you repeatedly that they can't hold space for your pain, that your tears are a burden or a joke to them, that's not love, that's emotional neglect in disguise. When they abandon you during a crisis, you really learn who someone is, not when life is fun, easy, or convenient, but when it all falls apart, when you lose your job. When a loved one dies, when you're diagnosed, when your world shatters, and suddenly the person who said, "I'm here for you no matter what," is gone, unavailable, unreachable, emotionally shut off. They go quiet, or worse. They get cold, blame you, distance themselves, make your pain your problem. That's abandonment, and it is a betrayal that leaves a scar. Because when someone walks away when you need them most, it doesn't just hurt. It changes you. You start questioning your worth. You wonder if you were too much, too broken, too emotional. But the truth is, you weren't too anything. They were too unwilling to face your reality. They didn't want to witness the messy parts of life, the uncomfortable, unfiltered, grieving, panicked, or unwell version of you. And that says everything about them and nothing about you. Here's the part that stings the most. It's not always total silence. Sometimes they're still around, but they're emotionally unavailable. They change the subject when you cry. They avoid the hard conversations. They guilt you for not being your usual self. And instead of standing with you in the storm, they stand on the sidelines, arms crossed, waiting for you to clean up the damage alone. That's not love. That's emotional cowardice. And listen, people don't have to fix your pain to be good to you. They just have to stand in it with you. They just have to say, I don't know how to make this better, but I'm not leaving you. You should never forgive someone who vanishes when your world goes dark. Because that kind of abandonment doesn't just hurt. It isolates. It teaches you to suffer in silence. It forces you to believe that you're only lovable when you're together. But real love doesn't flinch when life gets heavy. Real love stays. If they couldn't show up when it mattered most, don't invite them back when you rise again. Let their absence speak louder than their empty apologies ever could. When they blame you for the pain they caused, there's a moment. If you've ever experienced it, you'll never forget. It's not the moment they hurt you. It's the moment you finally get the courage to say, this hurt me, and they twist it into your fault. Suddenly, you're the villain, you're the problem, you're too emotional, too sensitive, too much. And now you're not only carrying the weight of the pain, they're making you carry the blame for it, too. This is gaslighting, and it is one of the most dangerous betrayals of all, because it doesn't just cause hurt, it causes confusion. It makes you question your memory, your feelings, your reality. You start asking yourself, maybe I overreacted, maybe I provoked it, maybe I deserved it. No, you didn't. They hurt you, and instead of owning it, they redirected the guilt back onto you like a mirror reflecting shame. This betrayal is subtle and psychological, but the damage runs deep. Because once someone convinces you that your pain is your fault, they can get away with anything. They can cheat, lie, explode, disappear, and then make you apologize for how you reacted to it. That's not just emotional immaturity. That's emotional abuse. And the longer you stay in that dynamic, the more disconnected you become from your truth. You start apologizing just to restore peace, even when you did nothing wrong. You start walking on eggshells, trying to manage their moods so you won't be blamed again. Let me be clear, you should never forgive someone who refuses to take responsibility for the harm they cause, especially when they try to convince you it's your fault. Because when someone hurts you and then gaslights you, they're not just breaking your trust. They're breaking your ability to trust yourself, and the path to healing starts not with reconciliation, but with radical self-validation. Looking in the mirror and saying, it wasn't my fault, I didn't deserve that, and I'm not going to carry their shame any longer. You don't need to forgive the person who made you feel crazy for asking to be treated with decency. You need to free yourself from their narrative and start writing your own. Your healing doesn't require their forgiveness. We've been taught that forgiveness is the highest form of healing. But here's the truth no one talks about. There are betrayals so deep, so calculated, so damaging, that the most loving thing you can do is walk away without offering forgiveness, not out of bitterness, not out of vengeance, but out of self-respect, because forgiveness without accountability becomes complicity, because some people don't see your grace as a gift, they see it as permission. And the more you excuse their behavior in the name of healing, the more you abandon yourself in the name of peace. Let me say this clearly. You do not have to forgive someone to be free from them. You don't owe closure to the person who shattered your sense of safety. You don't have to make peace with the ones who never took responsibility for the pain they caused. What you owe to the child in you, to the future you, to the version of you who almost stayed, is this: boundaries, truth, distance, and the sacred knowing that you deserve more. Not everyone gets a second chance. Not everyone deserves access to your life just because they want it. Some relationships don't need to be mended. They need to be ended, and that doesn't make you cold. That makes you clear. You're allowed to heal without hugging the person who broke you. You're allowed to rise without inviting them to watch. Sometimes the bravest thing you can say is, I don't forgive you, but I release you, because I'm choosing me now.